This is a passion thing. We didn't know it couldn't be done, so we went ahead and did it.
It's a difficult art to stand in front of a work of art.
I think if you're not willing to give of yourself to art, you probably won't appreciate it. If you stand and look at a Rothko or an abstract painting and pay attention to it, it will talk to you.
The abstract expressionist, as far as I'm concerned, was the first really great, internationally acclaimed art movement by Americans. When we look at modern and contemporary art, we really have two questions. Have I seen it before? But most importantly, could I have thought of it? In 1963, we took this trip around the world and ended up at the Louvre, and that changed the whole Anderson perspective on art and painting.
I remember going to the Petit Palais and the little Jeu de Paume, and that Degas dancer was there. And it was so beautiful. And of course, all those Impressionist paintings that they had, we just fell in love with all of them.
The collections gifted by Harry W. and Mary Margaret Anderson and Mary Patricia Anderson Pence, known affectionately to friends, family, and the Stanford community as Hunk, Moo, and Putter. They really didn't have much of a background in art, and they were struck immensely by the experience at the Louvre and discovered in themselves a shared passion for art.
We came home as complete novices. Maybe it was the fact that we didn't know that made all of this possible. We had to go from -10 to +100. It was the passion behind it that made this possible.
One of the remarkable things about Hunk and Moo is when they talk about their own experience in collecting, beginning first when they started collecting Impressionist work and concluding that with the price of Impressionist work, they would have a very small collection. And then doing something quite bold, going out in the early days of the modern American tradition and beginning to collect artists, really looking for people who were shaping the future and shaping what American art would look like. Hunk is fond of saying, we looked for the best of the best. And I think this collection really captures that.
This really has become, for the past 20 years, really a family affair. Putter really led us into the more contemporary world.
Because I grew up with such incredible new ideas in painting, it's only helped me have a philosophy of looking for that new thing or being challenged by that new idea. Welcome to the shrine. It has remained this way since 1969. We did have an empty wall in my room, which was the horizontal wall behind me. And Mom and Dad came up with the great idea of putting the Pollock drip painting here for me to look at. I think it remained here for about 6 years. All my girlfriends, we had sleepovers, we had pillow fights, and never added anything to that Jackson Pollock with our Sharpies.
We've had a long-standing relationship with Stanford. One of the very first one was Al Elson. Al took us in hand. Moo went to his 101 class on purposes of art. I snuck in there once in a while, and he taught us a lot. Nathan Oliveira was very important for us, not only in terms of exposure to his art. He was unselfish as far as taking us and introducing us to what was good art and what was not good art. Al and Nate were really instrumental in this whole thing.
One of the common threads across the art that the Andersons collected was that the works speak aesthetically and visually without the necessity of any kind of prior knowledge. The Andersons chose objects that function formally and visually and aesthetically on their own terms without the need for explanation. That's oftentimes the test of art that really does last.
On a daily basis, we are privileged enough that we get to live the art. Every day it changes. It's so amazing to me. You can really see the paint underneath the paint. It's three-dimensional. It's beautiful. It's absolutely more so than people really look at it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful painting. Tough. It's a tough painting.
It's fabulous to have this very in-depth collection now here on campus that will enable students and scholars and the community to look at the Anderson collection and then go to the Cantor Art Center and see some of the influences from previous periods that might have affected the work of those very contemporary artists.
These artists stand for things, they believe things passionately. The chance it gives me to teach in the galleries and to teach about the works, to teach about mid-20th century American culture. These pictures were seen as among the most important made in America. Why were they important? Again, I think it's so important not just for the visitor, but for someone like me who teaches art history to go beyond art history and to ask oneself what about a certain time is expressed intuitively yet with authority by an artist such as Willem de Kooning or Jackson Pollock.
The Anderson collection provides a comprehensive look at art on the West Coast as well as the East Coast, and they're commingled throughout the museum. And I think it's wonderful to be able to look at a funk artist as well as an abstract expressionist. And I think it's going to be a really enlightening experience for the visitor.
This has been a labor of love for the Andersons. They want to share that. And by putting it here at Stanford, they're enabling future generations to see this wonderful art. And that's a remarkable difference they're going to make in the world.
It's going out, Angela.
I know my hope, and I would imagine the Andersons' hope, is that people have a similar experience to the one that the Andersons had upon stepping foot in the Louvre.
Sharing is about helping other people because so many people have helped us. You can't have something and enjoy it unless you share it.
These objects that we have collected are really for posterity. They're bigger than one family. They have become almost overwhelmingly needed to be shared with the world.